Death is the greatest mystery of existence. What happens to us when we take our last breath? Does consciousness vanish into nothingness? Or does the soul embark on a journey beyond this physical realm? Across centuries, cultures, and beliefs, humanity has sought answers through religion, science, and first-hand accounts of near-death experiences. What if I told you that the soul doesn't leave instantly, but lingers on Earth for a period before transitioning to another dimension? In this video, we will dive deep into the hidden truths about the afterlife, exploring ancient spiritual traditions, scientific research, and the experiences of those who claim to have glimpsed the other side. You'll discover how long the soul remains in our world, why some spirits struggle to move on, and how they might still be communicating with us. If you've ever lost someone, or if you've ever wondered what awaits beyond life's final curtain, stay with me until the end. The knowledge we'll uncover today might change the way you see both life and death forever. Let's begin. The soul's journey after death has fascinated humanity for centuries. Many ancient cultures and spiritual traditions describe a period where the soul remains connected to the earthly plane before fully transitioning. Some accounts suggest this phase lasts for days, while others believe it varies based on the individual's life, emotional state, and level of spiritual awareness. What happens during this time? And why do some souls seem to stay longer? These are questions that science and spirituality have both attempted to answer, offering intriguing insights that may reshape our understanding of the afterlife. Near-death experiences, NDEs, have provided astonishingly similar testimonies across cultures. Many who have returned from the brink of death describe feelings of floating above their body, witnessing events around them, and even attempting to communicate with loved ones. If the consciousness persists in this way, does this indicate that the soul is still present? Researchers have studied these phenomena extensively, uncovering patterns that suggest the soul does not immediately depart, but instead experiences a transition phase. This moment is often described as one of clarity, where the soul recognizes its detachment from the body, but is not yet ready to leave completely. Many spiritual teachings, from Buddhism to indigenous traditions, describe a liminal state between life and the afterlife. The Tibetan Book of the Dead speaks of the Bardo, a realm where the soul undergoes a process of realization before moving on. Similarly, in various African and Native American beliefs, the recently deceased are thought to linger to resolve unfinished matters or guide their families. These teachings imply that the process of letting go is not instantaneous, but a journey in itself, influenced by the soul's attachment to life and its readiness to embrace the next phase. Scientific perspectives have also attempted to understand this phenomenon. Neurologists studying end-of-life brain activity have discovered that certain brain waves continue to function briefly after clinical death. This suggests a form of awareness that transcends the shutdown of the body. Furthermore, studies in quantum physics raise the possibility that consciousness is not confined to the brain, but exists independently, leading to compelling theories about the continuation of the soul beyond death. Could this period of extended awareness be evidence of the soul's lingering presence? One of the most common reasons cited for why a soul stays temporarily is unfinished business. If a person passes away suddenly or under traumatic circumstances, their consciousness may struggle to detach from their earthly life. This is why many cultures emphasize the importance of closure, final words, or last rites, to help both the departed and the living move forward. Those who experience sudden deaths, such as in accidents, often report confusion in NDEs, feeling as though they are still alive and trying to interact with their surroundings. Beyond personal attachment, external energies may also play a role in the transition. Many spiritualists believe that prayers, rituals, and even thoughts directed at the deceased can either assist or hinder the soul's passage. In some traditions, families hold ceremonies for days or even weeks, believing that collective energy can help guide the spirit toward peace. This belief aligns with quantum theories on consciousness, where intention and observation influence reality. Could human emotion and attention be a tangible force in guiding a soul's departure? For those who have lost loved ones, understanding this transition period can offer both comfort and guidance. Many people report sensing the presence of a deceased family member shortly after their passing, through vivid dreams, unexplained occurrences, or even a profound feeling of their energy. Rather than dismissing these as coincidences, some believe they are moments of genuine connection, where the soul is still close, offering reassurance or seeking closure. Recognizing these signs can transform grief into an opportunity for understanding and healing. The transition of the soul after death is not always smooth. While some souls pass effortlessly into the next realm, others struggle, caught between worlds. Various cultures and spiritual traditions have long described spirits that linger due to unresolved emotions, attachments, or fears. These are often referred to as earthbound spirits, entities that remain tethered to the physical world. Understanding why this happens sheds light on one of the most intriguing aspects of the afterlife: why some souls seem to stay behind, unable or unwilling to move forward. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can hold a soul back. If someone has lived with a deep-seated fear of death or the unknown, they may resist crossing over, clinging to the familiar reality they once knew. Many religious traditions depict the afterlife in terms of judgment, which can create anxiety for those who believe they may face consequences for their actions. In contrast, other beliefs emphasize the idea that all souls ultimately find peace. Regardless of the perspective, fear itself can act as a barrier, preventing the soul from fully transitioning. Emotional attachments to people, places, or possessions can also anchor a soul to this world. A mother who feels an overwhelming need to protect her children, a person who was deeply connected to a home, or someone who left behind unfinished work may struggle to let go. These attachments create a strong energetic pull that keeps the soul lingering in the earthly realm. In many cultures, rituals are performed to help souls release these bonds, ensuring that they can pass on peacefully without regret or longing. Traumatic or sudden deaths can result in confusion for the departing soul. Individuals who pass away unexpectedly through accidents, violence, or unforeseen medical emergencies may not immediately realize they are no longer alive. Many near-death experience accounts describe people feeling shocked or lost, attempting to communicate with the living, unaware that they have already crossed the threshold. This state of disorientation is a key reason why some souls remain earthbound, trapped in a loop of trying to resume their previous life. The energy of the living can influence the soul's ability to move forward. Intense grief, longing, or refusal to accept a loved one's passing can create an energetic tether that holds them close. This is why spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of mourning rituals, not just for emotional closure, but to help the soul transition. Expressions of love, prayers, and ceremonies are believed to offer a guiding light for the deceased, signaling that it is safe to move toward the next phase of existence. There are also instances where souls consciously choose to stay. Some spiritual traditions believe that enlightened souls, such as ancestors or guides, remain in the earthly realm to assist the living. These souls may not be bound by unresolved emotions, but instead take on a role of guardianship, offering wisdom and protection from beyond. Many people report feeling the presence of loved ones long after their passing, sensing their guidance in critical moments of life. This suggests that not all lingering spirits are trapped. Some may simply be watching over us. Understanding the reasons behind the soul's temporary presence on earth helps us make peace with the mysteries of death. Rather than seeing spirits as lost or troubled, we can view them as beings in transition, undergoing a process that varies from one individual to another. Whether influenced by fear, attachment, trauma, or conscious choice, the period after death is a profound and personal journey, one that reminds us of the deep connections between the physical and the spiritual worlds. The moment a soul detaches from the body marks the beginning of an extraordinary journey. While the physical body ceases to function, many spiritual traditions suggest that consciousness continues, entering a transitional phase before fully moving on. This period is often described as a time of heightened awareness, where the soul gains clarity about its existence, past experiences, and the next steps in its journey. But how does this transition unfold? And what determines whether a soul moves quickly or lingers for an extended period? Many near-death experiencers describe a sense of weightlessness, as if they are floating above their body, watching events unfold from a detached yet lucid perspective. This stage is often accompanied by a profound sense of peace, an absence of pain, and a realization that they are no longer confined to physical limitations. Some report hearing conversations in the room, seeing loved ones grieving, or even attempting to interact, only to find that their presence is unnoticed by the living. These accounts suggest that the soul does not instantly disconnect, but undergoes a process of adjustment. One of the most commonly reported elements of this phase is the presence of a guiding force. Whether described as an angel, a divine being, or even the spirit of a deceased loved one, many souls experience an encounter with an entity that helps them understand their transition. In some traditions, this is viewed as a guardian spirit, tasked with leading the soul toward its next destination. These guides may communicate telepathically, offering reassurance and reminding the soul of its purpose beyond the physical realm. Time behaves differently in this state. Some who have had near-death experiences describe what feels like hours of reflection, despite only being clinically dead for a few minutes. This suggests that the soul is momentarily outside the constraints of earthly time, existing in a realm where events unfold in a non-linear fashion. The concept of time dilation in quantum physics aligns with this idea, raising intriguing possibilities about the mechanics of consciousness beyond the body. Could this explain why souls seem to experience so much in such a short window? Many traditions speak of a life review, a panoramic replay of one's actions, thoughts, and emotions, experienced from both personal and external perspectives. Instead of mere observation, this review often involves a deep understanding of impact, where the soul not only sees but feels the effects of its choices on others. If a person caused pain, they experience that pain as if it were their own. If they spread love, they feel the joy they once created. This profound moment serves as a learning process, helping the soul recognize its spiritual evolution and the lessons carried forward. The soul's willingness to release attachments greatly influences the speed of its transition. If an individual clings to unresolved conflicts, regrets, or strong earthly bonds, they may find it challenging to move forward. Many spiritual teachings emphasize the importance of letting go, not just for the deceased, but for those left behind. Practices such as prayer, energy work, and rituals of remembrance are designed not only to honor the dead, but to help their souls transition smoothly. By releasing grief in a way that acknowledges love rather than loss, the living can aid in the process of ascension. While some souls navigate this transition effortlessly, others struggle, caught in a state of uncertainty. This raises a profound question. Does the way we live influence the way we transition? Many spiritual perspectives suggest that those who cultivate inner peace, practice forgiveness, and embrace a sense of purpose in life tend to experience a smoother passage. This idea reinforces the notion that preparing for death is not just about the end. It's about the way we choose to live each moment. The process of transitioning from life to the afterlife is deeply influenced by the emotional and energetic state of the soul. In many spiritual traditions, it is believed that the thoughts, emotions, and attachments held at the moment of death can shape the soul's journey beyond the physical world. If a person dies in peace, surrounded by love, their transition is often described as smooth and harmonious. On the other hand, those who experience fear, regret, or unresolved trauma may find themselves lingering, unable to fully move forward. This raises a critical question. How can one prepare their soul for a peaceful transition? One of the most important aspects of preparing for the afterlife is inner peace. Many ancient teachings suggest that those who cultivate emotional balance, forgiveness, and acceptance throughout their lives tend to transition more easily. Letting go of grudges, fears, and regrets allows the soul to release attachments to the earthly plane. In contrast, unresolved conflicts and unexpressed emotions can create a form of energetic weight, keeping the soul tethered to the world it is meant to leave behind. This concept is echoed in Buddhist and Hindu philosophies, which emphasize the idea of detachment and karmic resolution before death. Another key factor in the soul's transition is the energy of the environment at the time of death. Many cultures believe that the presence of loved ones, prayers, or even peaceful surroundings can guide the soul toward a higher state of awareness. In some traditions, chanting, singing, or spoken words of love are offered to help the departing soul feel safe. This belief aligns with modern research on the power of sound and vibration, which has been shown to influence consciousness. Could it be that the energy surrounding a person's final moments actually shapes their experience in the afterlife? The intention of the soul itself also plays a crucial role in what happens after death. Some traditions suggest that before birth, each soul chooses the lessons it will learn in life, as well as the manner in which it will leave the physical realm. This idea aligns with the concept of soul contracts, which propose that major life events, including death, are not random, but part of a greater plan. If this is true, then the way one embraces their final moments, whether with fear or with acceptance, could be an extension of the lessons they were meant to learn in their lifetime. In some cases, those who have experienced near-death events describe being given a choice to continue forward into the afterlife or return to the physical world. Many who return report a newfound appreciation for life, often changing their habits, relationships, and priorities based on what they experienced. This suggests that the moment of transition is not always final, and that in some cases, the soul has the agency to determine whether its journey in the physical realm is complete. Could this mean that our consciousness holds more power than we realize, even beyond the limits of life and death? One of the most intriguing aspects of the soul's journey is the role of spiritual guides and ancestors. Many cultures believe that when a person dies, they are greeted by loved ones who have passed before them. This belief is not only found in religious texts, but also in countless near-death experience accounts. Some describe being welcomed by familiar faces, while others report the presence of beings of light, radiating unconditional love. This raises an important question. Are these guides external beings, or are they manifestations of the soul's own consciousness, guiding itself toward the next phase? Ultimately, the way a soul transitions may depend on a combination of awareness, preparation, and surrender. By living a life of intention, clearing emotional burdens, and embracing the mystery of existence, one can cultivate a state of being that allows for a peaceful departure when the time comes. Death is not an end, but a transformation, one that is shaped by the way we live, the energy we carry, and the lessons we choose to embrace along the way. The connection between the soul and the physical body is a complex and mysterious phenomenon, deeply rooted in both spiritual teachings and scientific inquiry. Many traditions describe a subtle energetic cord that links the soul to the body, often referred to as the silver cord. This ethereal connection is believed to sustain the soul's presence in the physical realm, allowing it to interact with the material world. When this cord is severed, the soul is fully released from the body, marking the point of no return. But what exactly happens during this separation, and how does it influence the soul's transition? Many near-death experiences, NDEs, describe the sensation of rising above the body, looking down at the physical form, and feeling an invisible force pulling them upward. Some report seeing a cord-like structure attached to their energy body, extending back to their earthly form. This description is strikingly similar across different cultures and belief systems, suggesting that the silver cord is a universal element of the death process. While mainstream science has yet to confirm its existence, quantum physics and consciousness studies continue to explore the possibility that the soul operates through an energetic framework beyond our current understanding. The strength of the silver cord is often associated with an individual's life force. In many esoteric teachings, the cord is said to weaken with age, illness, or spiritual detachment. Those who engage in deep meditation or astral projection sometimes claim to perceive this cord, describing it as a luminous, elastic thread that extends as far as the consciousness travels. However, unlike in death, the cord remains intact during these experiences, allowing the soul to return to the body. This raises a profound question. Could the silver cord be the true link between physical existence and higher realms of consciousness? In sudden or traumatic deaths, some believe the silver cord is forcefully severed, causing confusion for the soul. This aligns with accounts of spirits who appear unaware of their passing, wandering familiar locations, or attempting to communicate with the living. In contrast, those who pass peacefully, especially in a state of acceptance, often describe a gentle transition, where the cord gradually dissolves, allowing for a smoother passage into the afterlife. These variations suggest that the way a person dies may influence the soul's journey beyond. Many religious and spiritual traditions incorporate rituals to ease the breaking of the silver cord, ensuring that the soul transitions without resistance. In Tibetan Buddhism, prayers and chants are performed to guide the departing consciousness. In Hinduism, sacred fire rituals help release the soul from earthly attachments. Similarly, Christian and indigenous practices often involve blessings, incense, and final words of encouragement to assist the soul in moving forward. These rituals imply that the energetic environment surrounding death plays a crucial role in how the soul detaches. Another fascinating perspective comes from modern energy healers, who suggests that emotional and energetic blockages can interfere with the smooth release of the soul. Some believe that souls burdened by intense regret, fear, or unresolved trauma may experience a slower detachment process. This aligns with the idea that the silver cord does not snap instantly, but fades as the soul achieves greater awareness of its next phase. If this is true, then cultivating emotional and spiritual clarity in life may prepare the soul for a more seamless departure when the time comes. The mystery of the silver cord raises profound implications about the nature of existence itself. If an unseen energetic link connects the soul to the body, does this suggest that life and death are not opposites but two states of the same continuum? Could understanding this connection unlock deeper knowledge about consciousness, the afterlife, and even the possibility of returning from the brink of death? These questions continue to inspire both spiritual seekers and scientific minds, reminding us that the soul's journey is far more intricate than we may have ever imagined. The transition of the soul after death is not a singular event, but a process that unfolds in stages. Many spiritual traditions and near-death experiences suggest that after the initial detachment from the body, the soul enters a state of heightened perception, where it begins to understand its new reality. This phase is often described as a moment of profound clarity, where the soul no longer experiences the limitations of the physical body, and instead perceives existence in a way that is more expansive and multidimensional. But what exactly does the soul encounter in this early stage of the afterlife? One of the most commonly reported experiences in near-death studies is the perception of light. Many individuals describe being drawn toward a radiant, all-encompassing light that feels warm, intelligent, and deeply loving. This light is often interpreted as a spiritual presence, sometimes associated with divine beings, ancestors, or guides. While interpretations vary, the overwhelming sense of peace and acceptance felt in this moment suggests that the soul is encountering a higher consciousness, perhaps a transitionary realm where it prepares for the next phase of its journey. In some traditions, the early afterlife is said to include a welcoming phase, where the soul is greeted by familiar energies. These may appear as loved ones who have passed on, spiritual teachers, or beings of light. The purpose of this phase seems to be one of reassurance, letting the newly departed know that they are not alone. Many who have had near-death experiences report feeling an intense, unconditional love in this moment, as if their entire existence is embraced by a force greater than themselves. Could this suggest that the soul is never truly abandoned, even in death? Time behaves differently in this dimension. Many souls describe a life review, a panoramic replay of their experiences, emotions, and interactions. Unlike human memory, this review is said to be immersive, allowing the soul to not only see past events but to feel their impact from multiple perspectives. This moment is not about judgment, but understanding, a deep recognition of the choices made in life and the effects they had on others. Some traditions suggest that this review is a way for the soul to process its earthly journey, learning lessons that will influence its next phase of existence. For some souls, the transition is immediate, moving swiftly into a higher state of being. For others, particularly those with unresolved emotions or attachments, the process may take longer. There are accounts of souls who seem to hesitate, reluctant to move forward due to unfinished business, regret, or fear. This aligns with spiritual teachings that suggest that the state of mind at the moment of death influences the soul's ability to transition. Could this mean that our thoughts and emotions shape not only our life, but also our afterlife? There is also the concept of multiple realms or dimensions within the afterlife. Some esoteric traditions describe the soul passing through different layers of existence, each representing a different level of awareness or purification. These realms range from familiar earthly-like environments to completely abstract states of consciousness, where the soul merges with a greater collective energy. This aligns with the idea that the afterlife is not a single place, but a vast continuum of experiences, shaped by the soul's vibrational frequency and spiritual evolution. The transition period after death serves as a bridge between the physical and the infinite. It is a time of reflection, adjustment, and preparation before the soul fully embraces its next phase. Whether this journey is smooth or challenging seems to depend on the awareness, acceptance, and inner peace cultivated during life. Understanding this process not only helps us prepare for our own transition, but also offers comfort in knowing that death is not an abrupt ending. It is a shift into a deeper, more profound state of being. The idea that the soul exists beyond the physical body raises profound questions about what truly defines human existence. If consciousness continues after death, where does it go? Many spiritual traditions, ancient texts, and near-death experiences describe a multi-layered afterlife, where the soul transitions through different realms or dimensions. These realms are not merely destinations but states of consciousness, reflecting the soul's level of awareness, growth, and vibrational energy. This concept challenges the traditional notion of heaven and hell, suggesting instead that the afterlife is far more intricate than a simple duality. Many esoteric traditions, including theosophy and mystical branches of major religions, describe the afterlife as consisting of several planes of existence. These planes range from dense earthly realms where spirits remain attached to their past lives, to higher, luminous dimensions where souls exist in a state of expanded awareness. Some teachings suggest that the soul moves through these levels based on its spiritual evolution, with those who have attained wisdom and peace ascending more effortlessly, while those burdened by unresolved emotions remain closer to the physical world. Could this explain why some spirits seem to linger, while others vanish almost instantly? One of the most widely reported experiences in near-death studies is the sensation of entering a realm of light. This dimension is often described as vibrant, peaceful, and free from earthly concerns. Colors appear more vivid, thoughts become instantaneous manifestations, and communication is no longer bound by language, but occurs through direct knowledge or telepathic understanding. Those who reach this state often describe a sense of profound belonging, as if they have returned to their true home. This aligns with ancient spiritual teachings that suggest that the physical world is temporary, while the afterlife represents the soul's original and eternal state. In contrast, lower vibrational realms are often depicted as places where souls struggle with emotional burdens, attachments, or confusion. These are not realms of punishment, as described in religious dogma, but rather places where souls remain until they are ready to release their limitations. Many who have had distressing near-death experiences report feelings of isolation, darkness, or being trapped in repetitive thought loops. However, these states are not permanent. Spiritual traditions emphasize that even souls in these conditions can ascend once they recognize their situation and seek higher guidance. This suggests that free will extends beyond life, allowing the soul to evolve even after physical death. Another fascinating concept is the realm of collective consciousness, where souls experience a deep connection to all living beings. Some who have had profound near-death experiences describe merging with a universal intelligence, feeling as though they have access to the collective knowledge of humanity and beyond. This experience aligns with teachings from Hinduism, Buddhism, and mystical Christianity, which describe the afterlife as a return to oneness with the divine. If this is true, then individual identity may be just a temporary aspect of existence, with the soul ultimately reuniting with a greater whole. The idea of multiple afterlife dimensions also aligns with modern theories in quantum physics, which suggests that reality itself may be composed of multiple layers of existence. Some physicists propose that consciousness is not limited to the brain, but may exist as a field of energy that transcends physical form. If this is the case, then death may not be the end of awareness but simply a transition into another state of being, one that is not bound by space, time, or material limitations. Could science eventually validate what spiritual traditions have been teaching for millennia? Ultimately, the soul's journey through the afterlife appears to be one of growth, reflection, and expansion. Whether through higher realms of peace and wisdom or temporary states of confusion, each experience serves as a continuation of the soul's learning process. Understanding this perspective allows us to shift from fearing death to embracing it as an integral part of existence. Rather than an end, it becomes a passage into a deeper reality, where the soul continues to evolve, explore, and expand beyond anything we can currently comprehend. The journey of the soul after death is not only shaped by its own awareness, but also by the energetic ties it leaves behind. Many spiritual traditions believe that the soul's transition is influenced by the emotions, thoughts, and actions of the living. If a person is deeply mourned, held onto with grief, or remembered with unresolved pain, their soul may feel drawn back to the earthly realm. Conversely, if they are honored with love, gratitude, and a sense of release, their journey may be more peaceful. Could it be that our emotions act as a bridge between the living and the departed? One of the most commonly discussed spiritual concepts regarding this connection is ancestral energy. Many cultures, particularly in African, Asian, and indigenous traditions, believe that deceased loved ones continue to play a role in the lives of the living. These ancestors are not seen as lost souls, but as guides, protectors, and sources of wisdom. Rituals such as honoring their memory, lighting candles, or offering prayers are said to keep their energy present in a positive way. This suggests that the bond between the living and the dead is not severed at death but continues in a different form. The opposite of this benevolent connection is when a soul becomes earthbound, often due to unresolved ties with the physical world. If someone dies suddenly, tragically, or with deep attachments, they may not fully transition. Stories of spirits lingering in familiar places, appearing in dreams, or causing unexplained disturbances often relate to this idea. Many spiritual teachings emphasize that these souls do not remain out of punishment, but because they are still seeking closure. In these cases, it is believed that the living can help them move forward by sending love, prayers, or even directly communicating with them through intention. Another profound way that souls remain connected to the physical world is through dream visitation. Many people report vivid dreams in which they see deceased loved ones, often in peaceful and radiant states. Unlike ordinary dreams, these encounters feel hyper-real, as if the person is truly present. The messages conveyed in these dreams are often comforting, offering reassurance or answering unresolved questions. Some believe that during sleep, our consciousness is more open to spiritual realms, allowing us to briefly reconnect with souls who have moved on. Could it be that the afterlife is not as distant as we perceive, but simply a shift in awareness? Energy imprints, also known as residual energy, are another way that the presence of the deceased lingers. Have you ever entered a room and felt an unexplainable heaviness, or visited a place where it seemed as if something unseen was still there? Many believe that strong emotions, especially those felt at the moment of death, can leave behind an energetic residue. These imprints are different from conscious spirits. They do not interact or change, but simply replay an event or emotion. This could explain why certain locations, such as old homes, battlefields, or places of tragedy, feel intensely charged with energy. Some theories suggest that the dead can influence the living in subtle but powerful ways. Many people report moments of sudden inspiration, unexpected solutions to problems, or feelings of guidance that seem to come from nowhere. Could these be messages from souls who have passed on? In spiritual practices such as mediumship, individuals claim to receive information from deceased loved ones, often bringing messages of love, forgiveness, or direction. Whether viewed as supernatural or as a function of consciousness itself, these experiences suggest that death is not a complete separation, but rather a transformation of connection. Understanding the energetic ties between the living and the dead allows us to navigate grief, honor those who have passed, and even strengthen our own spiritual awareness. If the soul continues in some form beyond death, then the way we think about and remember our loved ones matters deeply. By choosing to hold them in love rather than sorrow, we not only help them move forward, but also cultivate a sense of peace within ourselves. Death, rather than being a final goodbye, may simply be a change in the way we relate to those who have gone before us. The soul's journey after death is not just about where it goes, but also about how it evolves beyond the physical realm. Many spiritual traditions suggest that death is not an endpoint, but a shift into a different phase of existence, where the soul continues to learn, grow, and transform. If consciousness survives beyond the body, does it maintain its identity? Does it continue to develop, or does it dissolve into a greater whole? These questions lead to one of the most intriguing aspects of the afterlife, the possibility of soul evolution beyond death. One common belief across many esoteric teachings is that the soul goes through a process of purification and expansion after leaving the physical body. In some traditions, this is referred to as the astral plane, a realm where souls review their experiences, release emotional attachments, and prepare for the next stage of their journey. This idea aligns with near-death experiences, where individuals often describe feelings of clarity, understanding, and detachment from earthly concerns. Could this phase be the soul's way of shedding the weight of its human life before moving forward? Another widely discussed concept is the evolution of the soul through multiple lifetimes. The idea of reincarnation appears in Hinduism, Buddhism, Kabbalah, and even some early Christian beliefs. According to this view, the soul is not confined to a single existence, but returns to the physical world multiple times, each life offering new lessons and challenges. The purpose is not punishment or reward, but growth, the refinement of the soul through experiences that gradually elevate its awareness. If this is true, then death is not a final departure, but a transition between different states of learning. Some spiritual traditions suggest that souls can advance to higher realms of existence where they no longer need to reincarnate. In these dimensions, the soul exists in a state of pure consciousness, free from the limitations of the physical body. Some refer to these as celestial realms, spirit worlds, or even higher densities in metaphysical teachings. Those who have reached these states are believed to serve as guides, teachers, or guardians, assisting other souls in their journeys. Could this explain why some people report encounters with higher beings during near-death experiences? One of the most profound aspects of soul evolution is the idea of merging with a greater consciousness. Some mystical traditions suggest that the ultimate destination of the soul is not individual existence, but a return to a universal source, often described as the divine, oneness, or infinite intelligence. In this state, the soul no longer perceives itself as separate, but as part of a greater whole. This concept challenges the human need for identity and individuality, but also offers a vision of a limitless interconnected existence beyond the physical world. Another perspective on soul evolution comes from modern quantum theories of consciousness. Some physicists propose that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but is instead a fundamental part of the universe, existing independently of physical form. If this is true, then the soul may not be an isolated entity, but part of a much larger field of intelligence. Could this mean that after death, our awareness does not vanish, but instead integrates into a larger cosmic network of energy and information? The idea that the soul continues to evolve after death offers a hopeful and transformative view of existence. Instead of seeing death as an end, we can understand it as a doorway to greater awareness, growth, and connection. Whether through reincarnation, ascension to higher realms, or merging with universal consciousness, the journey of the soul appears to be endless, a continuous unfolding of experience, knowledge, and enlightenment beyond anything we can currently comprehend. The connection between the physical world and the afterlife has been a subject of fascination for centuries. Many cultures and belief systems suggest that the veil between the living and the dead is not absolute, that under certain conditions, the two realms can interact. This idea raises profound questions. Can the living communicate with the deceased? Do spirits attempt to send messages to those they left behind? And if so, how do these interactions occur? Exploring the bridges between life and the afterlife reveals astonishing insights into the ways souls may continue to influence our reality. One of the most well-documented forms of afterlife communication is dream visitation. Unlike ordinary dreams, these experiences are described as intensely vivid, carrying a sense of realism that lingers long after waking. Many people report seeing deceased loved ones in a state of peace, radiance, or heightened awareness, often delivering messages of comfort, reassurance, or guidance. Some dreamers claim to receive specific information, warnings, answers to unresolved questions, or even insights about the future. Could these be genuine encounters? Or are they simply projections of the subconscious mind processing grief? Another common phenomenon is the sensation of a presence. Many who have lost loved ones report feeling as though the deceased are still near, even sensing changes in temperature, pressure, or energy in a room. Some experience unexplained shifts in electrical devices, such as flickering lights, radios turning on unexpectedly, or phones ringing without a caller. While skeptics attribute these events to coincidence, spiritual traditions suggest that energy, including the energy of the soul, can influence the physical world in subtle but undeniable ways. Could spirits be using technology and the environment to communicate? Synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, are often reported by those who feel connected to the deceased. Seeing a loved one's favorite numbers, hearing a special song at just the right moment, or encountering symbolic animals and objects are all interpreted by many as signs from beyond. These events often occur at times of emotional distress or major life decisions, as if the departed are offering guidance from a higher perspective. If reality is shaped by consciousness, as some quantum theories suggest, then could these synchronicities be more than random chance? Mediumship, or the ability to communicate with spirits, has been practiced for thousands of years in various cultures. Shamans, mystics, and psychics have long claimed to act as intermediaries between the worlds, channeling messages from the departed. While some cases have been dismissed as fraudulent, others have produced startlingly accurate information that could not have been known beforehand. Many mediums describe communication with spirits as a form of telepathic transmission, where thoughts, emotions, or even entire life reviews are shared instantly. Does this suggest that the afterlife exists on a frequency that only certain individuals can perceive? Near-death experiences provide another clue about the connection between the living and the dead. Many people who have come close to dying report seeing deceased relatives waiting for them, often appearing youthful, healthy, and surrounded by light. These encounters frequently include messages that it's not time yet, or that the person must return to complete their purpose. What is striking about these reports is the consistency across different cultures, religions, and backgrounds. Could this be evidence that the deceased actively watch over the living, guiding them until their own time comes? If the bridge between life and the afterlife is real, then it challenges our understanding of reality itself. Rather than seeing death as a permanent separation, we can begin to view it as a change in the way relationships function. Whether through dreams, sensations, signs, or direct communication, the evidence suggests that the departed may not be as far away as we think. Instead of vanishing into nothingness, they may remain present, just beyond the veil, continuing to share love, wisdom, and connection in ways we are only beginning to understand. The nature of time in the afterlife is one of the most intriguing mysteries surrounding the soul's journey beyond death. In the physical world, we experience time as a linear progression: past, present, and future. However, many near-death experiencers, mystics, and spiritual traditions describe the afterlife as existing outside of time, where events do not unfold in a sequential manner, but rather in a state of simultaneous existence. This challenges everything we understand about reality and raises the question, what happens to time when the soul leaves the body? Many who have had near-death experiences describe a distortion of time, where moments feel stretched or compressed. Some report experiencing a life review that seems to last for hours, even though they were clinically dead for only a few minutes. Others claim to have traveled to realms where time does not exist at all, where they felt an eternal presence of now. This suggests that time, as we perceive it, may be a construct of the physical brain rather than an absolute truth. Could it be that time is only relevant in the material world, while the soul exists in a state of timeless awareness? Some spiritual traditions support this idea, particularly those that speak of multiple dimensions of existence. In many mystical teachings, the higher realms of consciousness are said to operate beyond linear time, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. This concept aligns with certain modern theories in quantum physics, which propose that time is not fixed but is instead relative, flexible, and even illusory. If this is true, then does the soul experience all of its past and future lives at once? Reincarnation, as taught in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other esoteric traditions, suggests that souls undergo multiple lifetimes to evolve spiritually. However, if time does not exist in the afterlife the way it does on Earth, then does reincarnation happen sequentially? Or could all lifetimes be happening at once? Some advanced spiritual teachings propose that each soul exists across multiple realities, learning different lessons simultaneously, with awareness shifting between lifetimes as consciousness evolves. Could this explain why some people have vivid memories of past lives, as if they are accessing information that is still unfolding in another plane? Another fascinating perspective comes from individuals who have had out-of-body experiences, OBEs, during meditation, deep states of consciousness, or near-death events. Many describe entering realms where time ceases to have meaning, where everything that has ever happened or will ever happen is accessible at once. This aligns with the idea that the afterlife is not a linear destination, but a multidimensional space, where the soul can navigate different points of existence freely. If this is true, then does this mean that we never truly leave the past, but rather expand into a greater awareness where all moments are equally real? If time does not exist in the same way in the afterlife, then this could also explain why spirits seem to interact with the living at unexpected moments. Many people report receiving signs, messages, or even visitations from deceased loved ones long after their passing, sometimes decades later. Yet, if time is fluid from their perspective, then what feels like years to the living may seem like mere moments to the departed. Could this mean that communication between dimensions is not bound by time, but by intention, emotional connection, or spiritual awareness? Ultimately, the idea of time in the afterlife forces us to reconsider the very nature of reality. If the soul exists beyond the limitations of time, then perhaps our earthly experiences are only fragments of a much larger existence, one that is eternal, interconnected, and unfolding in ways that we cannot yet fully comprehend. By exploring these possibilities, we begin to shift our perspective on life and death, realizing that rather than an ending, death may simply be a transition into a state of limitless being, where time, as we know it, ceases to define our experience. The idea that the soul continues to exist beyond death naturally leads to another profound question. Can the dead observe the living? Many spiritual traditions, near-death experiencers, and individuals who claim to have received messages from the deceased suggest that souls do, in fact, retain a form of awareness of the earthly realm. If this is true, how much can they see? Are they merely passive observers, or do they actively try to communicate? And what determines whether a spirit remains connected to the world of the living? One of the most consistent reports from near-death experiences is the ability to see events happening in real time from an elevated perspective. Many individuals who were clinically dead for several minutes describe witnessing doctors and nurses working on their bodies, observing their families grieving, or even floating through walls to perceive events occurring in different rooms. In some cases, these accounts have been verified, as the person describes conversations or actions that they could not have physically witnessed. This suggests that at least in the initial stages after death, souls retain an ability to observe the physical world. Beyond the moment of death, many believe that souls continue to check in on their loved ones. In various spiritual traditions, it is said that recently departed souls often visit their families to offer comfort or to ensure their loved ones are coping well. Many grieving individuals report feeling the presence of their loved ones, sensing warmth, seeing meaningful symbols, or experiencing sudden waves of peace. These encounters often happen in moments of deep emotion, as if the deceased are still connected to those they loved. Could this mean that the bonds formed in life continue beyond the veil of death? However, there seems to be a difference between temporary observation and prolonged attachment. Some spiritual teachings suggest that souls that have completed their transition no longer focus on earthly matters. They move into higher states of awareness, where human concerns become insignificant compared to the vastness of the afterlife. Others, particularly those with strong emotional ties, unfinished business, or regrets, may remain closer to the physical realm, drawn back by their own attachments or the energy of those who refuse to let them go. This could explain why some spirits seem to make their presence known long after their passing. Some people claim to receive direct signs and messages from the deceased, which further suggests that spirits may be able to influence the physical world in subtle ways. These signs often come in the form of unusual synchronicities, such as a favorite song playing at the perfect moment, meaningful numbers appearing repeatedly, or electronic disturbances that defy explanation. Others report feeling physical sensations, such as a light touch on the shoulder, a sudden change in room temperature, or even a whisper in their ear. Could these be deliberate attempts from the other side to offer comfort or guidance? Certain spiritual and religious traditions teach that the dead may not only observe, but also guide the living. The concept of ancestors acting as protectors is deeply ingrained in many cultures. In African, Asian, and indigenous traditions, it is believed that deceased family members watch over their descendants, providing wisdom and intervention when necessary. Some people experience intuitive flashes, dreams, or warnings that seem to come from nowhere but later prove to be profoundly accurate. Could it be that our ancestors continue to influence our paths long after they have left the physical plane? While some spirits maintain a connection with the living, most spiritual teachings agree that the ultimate goal is for the soul to move forward. Staying attached to the material world for too long can cause stagnation, both for the soul and for those still alive. This is why many cultures perform ceremonies, prayers, and rituals to help the deceased transition fully, ensuring that they find peace in their new existence. Whether souls remain near or ascend to higher realms, one thing is clear: love, memory, and connection do not end with death. They simply take on a different form. The idea that souls can observe and even interact with the living leads to another profound question. Can spirits influence our thoughts, emotions, or even life events? Many spiritual traditions suggest that the deceased are not just passive witnesses, but may actively guide, protect, or even send warnings to those still in the physical realm. If true, this would mean that our connections with loved ones do not end at death, but continue in ways we may not always perceive. Could it be that the unseen world plays a greater role in our lives than we realize? One of the most commonly reported phenomena is a sudden, unexplained feeling of presence. Many individuals describe moments where they feel as though they are not alone, even in an empty room. These sensations are often accompanied by a strong emotional response, sometimes comfort, sometimes nostalgia, and occasionally an urgent need to pay attention to something. In some cases, people receive sudden thoughts, ideas, or solutions to problems that seem to come from an external source. Could these be subtle influences from the spirit world, nudging us towards certain decisions or realizations? Another way spirits seem to make their presence known is through intuitive warnings and guidance. There are countless stories of people who avoided danger, made a life-changing decision, or felt an unexplained hesitation that saved them from harm, only to later believe that a deceased loved one was protecting them. Some individuals describe hearing a voice in their mind, feeling an instinctive pull in a certain direction, or even seeing a vision that provides insight into a situation. If the soul exists beyond death, could it be that those who have passed on continue to watch over and assist us in unseen ways? Some spiritual teachings suggest that spirits can influence our energy field, subtly affecting our emotions and mental states. In times of grief or distress, many report feeling a sudden wave of peace or warmth, as if an unseen force is embracing them. Others experience strong emotional shifts, such as an overwhelming sense of love, reassurance, or even motivation to move forward. These experiences often come at moments of deep reflection or when thinking about the departed. Could this be a form of nonverbal communication, where spirits influence emotions instead of words? Dreams are another powerful channel through which spirits seem to communicate. Many people report receiving messages, warnings, or comfort from deceased loved ones in dreams that feel more real than ordinary dreams. In these experiences, the deceased often appear younger, healthier, and radiant, conveying messages that bring closure or guidance. Unlike typical dreams, these encounters leave a lasting emotional impact, making the dreamer feel as though they had a true conversation with the spirit. Could this mean that the dream state allows us to momentarily access realms beyond the physical? Another fascinating perspective is the idea that spirits can manipulate synchronicities, or meaningful coincidences, to communicate with the living. Seeing a deceased loved one's favorite symbol, hearing a song they cherished at a significant moment, or repeatedly encountering the same numbers could all be interpreted as signs from beyond. Some people experience electrical disturbances, objects moving inexplicably, or animals behaving in unusual ways, all coinciding with moments of deep thought about the deceased. If consciousness continues beyond the body, could spirits be subtly shaping reality to get our attention? While some spirits seem to maintain a connection with the living, most spiritual teachings emphasize that the ultimate purpose of the soul is to evolve and move forward. Staying too attached to the earthly plane, whether as a living person holding on to grief or as a spirit reluctant to let go, can create stagnation for both sides. This is why many cultures practice rituals, prayers, and acts of remembrance designed to help both the deceased and the living find peace. Love and connection never die, but they transform into new expressions that transcend the boundaries of life and death. The concept of soul contracts is one of the most fascinating ideas related to the afterlife and spiritual evolution. Many spiritual traditions propose that before birth, each soul chooses its experiences, lessons, and even relationships to aid in its personal growth. If true, this means that our lives are not random, but guided by a greater purpose, with challenges and encounters serving as opportunities for learning. But if souls make these choices before entering the physical world, do they continue influencing their contracts after death? And can they alter them from beyond the veil? Many near-death experiencers report a profound sense of recognition when transitioning to the afterlife, as if they are remembering something long forgotten. Some describe seeing a council of beings, or a life planning room, where they review their earthly experiences with complete understanding and acceptance. This aligns with the idea that each soul enters life with pre-agreed challenges, including major turning points, relationships, and even difficulties that serve as catalysts for spiritual growth. Could this explain why some people seem destined to cross paths, while others face recurring patterns until a lesson is fully learned? The life review that many near-death experiencers describe appears to be a crucial part of understanding one's soul contract. Instead of punishment, this review serves as a deep reflection, allowing the soul to feel the impact of its actions from multiple perspectives. Many describe experiencing both the joy and pain they caused others, leading to an immense understanding of personal growth. Some even recall choosing their next incarnation based on what they still need to learn. If this is true, then death is not an end, but a transition into another stage of conscious evolution. Another intriguing aspect of soul contracts is the idea that spirits continue to guide their loved ones after death. Many believe that ancestors, spirit guides, and even souls from past connections remain invested in the well-being of those still on Earth. This would suggest that relationships do not end with death, but continue in different forms, with the deceased offering guidance, protection, or even influencing events to steer the living toward their destined path. If souls operate from a higher awareness after death, could they still play an active role in the lives of those they once knew? There are also accounts of spirits communicating directly with the living to provide insight into their soul contracts. Mediums, psychics, and individuals who experience visitations often report receiving messages of encouragement, warnings, or guidance, as if the deceased are still aware of what is unfolding. Some messages offer closure, while others provide unexpected wisdom, leading the living to make important decisions. If soul contracts continue after death, could it mean that spirits are still adjusting, learning, or even assisting from the other side? This perspective also suggests that free will exists alongside destiny. While major life events may be pre-planned, the choices made in response to them shape the soul's journey. Some spiritual traditions propose that souls can renegotiate their contracts, adjusting their lessons based on new realizations after death. This could explain why some spirits seem active in the earthly realm. Perhaps they are still resolving aspects of their previous lives, ensuring their loved ones complete their own soul missions. If this is the case, then the afterlife may be far more interactive than we ever imagined. Ultimately, the idea of soul contracts reframes the way we view both life and death. Instead of seeing challenges as misfortunes, we can begin to see them as stepping stones toward growth, experiences we may have chosen for a reason. And instead of seeing death as separation, we can recognize it as a shift into a greater awareness, where souls continue to evolve, influence, and connect with those still in the physical realm. Understanding this concept allows us to approach both life and loss with a deeper sense of purpose, trust, and peace. The nature of the soul's final destination has been debated for centuries. In many religious and philosophical teachings, the soul either reunites with a divine source, continues evolving through reincarnation, or exists in a state of eternal consciousness. However, modern accounts of near-death experiences and spiritual insights suggest that the afterlife is not a single place, but a vast, multi-dimensional existence, where souls progress based on their level of awareness and spiritual growth. If this is true, what ultimately happens to the soul after it has completed all its lessons? One of the most widespread beliefs is that souls ascend to higher planes of existence once they have evolved beyond the need for physical incarnation. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is referred to as moksha or enlightenment, where the soul transcends the cycle of birth and death, merging with a higher state of being. In mystical Christianity and Sufi Islam, this is described as union with the divine, where the soul returns to its source, existing in a state of pure love and knowledge. If such a state exists, then could our earthly experiences be mere fragments of a greater, eternal journey? Some spiritual teachings suggest that souls who reach advanced levels of awareness become guides or guardians for others still undergoing their learning process. Instead of reincarnating, these souls assist the living and newly departed, acting as protectors, teachers, or even shaping the experiences of those on Earth. Many people report feeling guided by unseen forces, sensing the presence of wisdom beyond their own understanding. Could it be that these guiding spirits are not separate beings, but future versions of ourselves, returning to assist others as part of our soul's evolution? Other accounts propose that the soul ultimately merges with the collective consciousness, losing its sense of individuality while retaining awareness. This idea aligns with modern theories in quantum physics, which suggest that consciousness may be a field of energy that transcends physical existence. If true, then the ultimate destiny of the soul may not be an endpoint, but an expansion, where it dissolves into a state of infinite awareness, existing in a form that is beyond human comprehension. Could this mean that life and death are simply different perspectives of the same universal existence? There is also the possibility that souls do not have a single destination, but choose their next experience based on their own desires and development. Some spiritual perspectives suggest that after reaching a certain level of growth, souls may decide whether to reincarnate, guide others, explore new realms, or even create new realities. This challenges the idea of a fixed afterlife and instead presents a vision of infinite possibilities, where the soul's journey is as dynamic and creative as life itself. If true, then death is not an end, but a gateway to endless transformation. Near-death experiencers often describe entering realms where everything is understood instantaneously, where they feel an overwhelming sense of unity, wisdom, and love. Many claim they were given the choice to return to life or continue forward, suggesting that the afterlife is not a place of judgment, but one of freedom. If such realms exist, could it mean that the afterlife is not dictated by external forces, but by the soul's own state of consciousness? If so, then perhaps the soul's final destination is not predetermined, but shaped by what it is ready to experience next. Ultimately, the question of where the soul goes after death remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence. While religious, philosophical, and scientific perspectives all offer different theories, what remains consistent is the belief that death is not the end of consciousness. Whether through reincarnation, ascension, or merging with universal awareness, the soul's journey appears to be one of continuous expansion. Instead of fearing the unknown, we can begin to see life and death as two sides of the same cosmic adventure, where each ending is simply another beginning. The journey of the soul after death is a mystery that has fascinated humanity for centuries. Through spiritual traditions, near-death experiences, and modern theories, we have explored the possibility that consciousness does not simply end, but continues to evolve in ways we may not yet fully understand. Whether through reincarnation, ascension to higher realms, or union with a divine source, the afterlife appears to be far more than an ending. It is a continuation, a transformation, and perhaps even a return to our true home. But beyond all theories and beliefs, one truth remains. How we live our lives matters. The way we treat others, the love we give, the lessons we learn. These are the things that shape not only our earthly journey, but also what comes after. If the soul carries forward its experiences beyond this life, then every action, every choice, and every moment of kindness has an impact that extends far beyond what we can see. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Are you living with purpose? Are you nurturing your soul? And most importantly, are you preparing for what comes next? If you believe in eternal life, then now is the time to walk in faith, to seek wisdom, and to align your path with love and truth. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and follow Jesus, because in Him, we find the way, the truth, and the life. I also encourage you to share this video with someone who might need this message today. If you've ever felt the presence of a loved one who has passed, if you've had dreams or signs that made you question the nature of reality, let's continue this conversation in the comments. Your experiences matter, and this is a space where we seek deeper understanding together. Before we go, I want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Oliver, and it's an honor to be on this journey with you. I believe that the search for truth is one of the most important quests of our lives, and I'm grateful that we get to explore these profound questions together. Your time, your thoughts, and your presence here mean more than you know. Thank you for being part of this community. Take care, stay strong in faith, and remember, you are never alone. See you in the next video.